SG Reads.
Hello fellow travelers, my name's SG, welcome to the channel. Today, we're going over another forgotten gem, but this one's not really a series. This one was a series of bumpers that aired between a Scooby-Doo marathon. Now, many people don't remember this, but I remember it slightly when I was little, that I did see it here off and on. But, I saw it once again on YouTube and thought this would be a fun one to cover. Mainly because this feels more like a fever dream than an actual series that one would remember. Well, with that being said, please leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. If you have something that you would like me to check out, please leave it down in the comment section down below. And with all that being said, let's get started, shall we, with the Scooby-Doo Project. The Scooby-Doo Project was originally pitched by Chris Kelly, Larry Morris, and Steve Patrick, who would write and direct it later on. The original idea was that this would be a Blair Witch Project style video with Scooby-Doo characters, but the only thing they had was a detailed storyline, and of course, images of Daphne running through the woods. Cartoon Network executives did not really know what to make of it, but gave it the thumbs up either way, acting that it would be a funny gag in between episodes of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? And in October 31st, 1999, the Scooby-Doo Project was released between episodes of Scooby-Doo Where Are You during their Halloween marathon. This, of course, would be an interesting topic, mainly because this was such a last-minute effort, or was given so little thought, that they were given a shoestring budget, and not only that, were told to go find a location and find the material themselves. So with a small handheld camera, they went to Ashley Nixon, a producer on this 17-minute special, and went to her parents' house where they filmed most of the woods scenes, along with several of the actors being family members or, of course, people they knew. Now, this would later on become a cult classic. Many people would remember this as either just a faint memory, or you can even just find it here on YouTube. This is very interesting and very fun little project with as much humor and as much bite as the animated movies did. So, with that being said, let's get to what the story was about, shall we? The story follows most of the same notes from the Blair Witch. The Scooby Gang goes into the woods to look into a haunted mansion, and Velma's the one filming it because she wants to document how it is for the Scooby Gang to be able to investigate on a nearly daily basis. With this different setting, and even them kind of commenting that everything feels more realistic than what they're usually used to, a sudden unease in the group seems to rise throughout the rest of the film. And that makes it even more interesting because we do see the gang act in ways that we have never seen them at the time, and that is them panicking and freaking out in the middle of the woods. Now, we don't really see much about what happens, and that's using the point of the Blair Witch Project itself. Letting voice acting, letting the actors talk and kind of set up the picture for you while the camera is as shaky as it has been for the original movie. It does offer a lot to be said, and that there is a lot to take away from this. Like I said before, this does feel like modern Scooby-Doo can and has been taken away from the writing and sensibilities of just this 18-minute special. But with all that being said, at the very end they do manage to find their monster, but he's not the one they're looking for. It turns out that there's something else out there, and we are just left with the Scooby Gang running into the middle of the woods, and with the missing posters of Shaggy, Fred, Daphne, Velma, and of course Scooby-Doo, ending this saga of their storyline overall. Now, I gotta say, as simple as it still is pretty funny. It still does do the Blair Witch Project respect, and at the same time kinda gives you more leeway. In fact, I've seen many people commenting that they would have liked to see this kind of series for the Scooby Gang to be in the modern day. Not the, missing in the woods, but rather this idea that they're doing a haunted reality show. But with that being said, the humor has to be the highlight, really driving home the ideas of what a parody of a Scooby-Doo project should be. Not being mean-spirited and not being too over the top. Just getting the characters to their basic form and just seeing how they react to a certain situation. That's really what I think when a parody, especially of the Scooby Gang, should try to be doing. But with that being said, let's get on and to the voice acting, shall we? The voice cast of the Scooby Gang consists of Scott Inez as Scooby, Shaggy, and of course Scrappy-Doo, Frank Welker as Fred, B.J. Ward as Velma Dinkley, and Mary Kay Bergman as Daphne Blake. Now, if any of these voice actors sound familiar, well, they should. They were the original voices for the movies, from Zombie Island all the way down to almost Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. They were recurring voice actors and have had bigger careers later on in the future, such as Frank Welker playing on the list and even being Scooby-Doo later on in the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated series. But with that being said, they did work on this mainly because the same group had been working on, as I said before, Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island. So they managed to do this, but were of course on a shoestring budget and recorded their audio from a phone call or voice messaging due to them being in LA, and of course in 2 different studios. The animation in this is very solid, mainly because this is trying to be a mix of live action and of course animation, which in itself is a hard task to do, but to do it with such a limited budget, and of course do it in such a way that it's not off-putting. This feels good. It has a nice flow, does add to the story, and kind of add to the surrealism of it all. Adds to this kind of shaky vibe to it, capturing what the original Blair Witch did for an audience at the time. And ultimately it does add to kind of the humor, but at the same time rising in tension, because you don't really know what's going to happen in this kind of setting, in this kind of arena, if you will. It does offer something different than if it were just completely animated. I don't think it would have the exact same charm, but would definitely have the same amount of humor. This gives it a standout from all the other Scooby-Doo projects that we've seen in the past, and adds a little to the realism and adds a little bit more to the drama in the special itself. The soundings are right where the horror element should be, because there's no big music, there isn't any kind of sound effects, if you will, like we've expected from Scooby-Doo Where Are You or other Scooby projects. This is relying on kind of actual footsteps. This is relying on the actual crunching of grass. This is relying on small details here and there. There is a small segment where they do go with a traditional Scooby-Doo door gag, but kind of make reference that that's not very realistic in its sense. But it's still fun and still kind of adds to the charm of the whole special. This is relying mainly on the voice acting and mainly on the setting they're giving, and it does give a lot, if I have to say. So the sound is just as important because it adds to the tension, it adds to the mystery, and kind of adds to the creep factor of it all, just as many of these lost tape kind of, or lost footage videos kind of give. The Scooby-Doo Project is a very surreal, interesting, different, and entertaining entry into the Scooby-Doo mythos. This definitely does have that different vibe that we've seen become more apparent in modern day Scooby-Doo storytelling. Now I'm relying mostly on the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. You can definitely tell that they took some notes from the Scooby-Doo Project and how they wrote the story and how they reacted to the characters, allowing them to actually have personalities, allowing them to act like actual friends, rather than just stereotypical teenage characters in a cartoon. You see that even though there isn't much of the Scooby Gang in this, you see the personality that just exudes off them in this. How much more character and how much more detail is actually given in this. So with all that being said, I'd say that this is definitely one that you can go back, watch at any time of the year, and have a different opinion on. So with that being said, if you like this series, I should say, because it is a series of bumpers, please leave it down in the comment section. I would love to hear what your guys' opinion on of it. I think it's fun, I think it's interesting, and I do think that is something we should see more of in the future, with them being a little bit more creative, and of course being a little bit more story building for the characters later on in the future. And with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe down below, I'd really appreciate it. If you have a suggestion for another series that you'd like me to check out, or even just review, please, I'd like to hear it. Leave it down in the comment section. Alright, hope to see you guys next time. Have a great one.